You've been told your ancestors feared lions, saber-toothed cats, wolves circling in the dark. They didn't, not most. The thing that actually terrified early humans wasn't an animal at all, it was silence. Specifically, the silence of a group deciding it no longer wanted you in it, being cast out, left behind. Unheard from around the fire. That fear is still in you right now. It's why a single unread message can make your stomach drop. It's why walking into a room where everyone stops talking feels worse than almost anything else. You inherited that reaction. You didn't invent it. Here's why it runs so deep. For most of human history, a lion was dangerous but survivable. You could run, you could fight, you could get lucky. Exile from the group was different. Exile was a slower kind of death, and a more certain one. A lone human on the open plains, cut off from the group, had almost no chance. No one to watch their back while they slept. No one to help carry water, track game, treat a wound, or warn them of danger approaching from behind. Anthropologists studying small-scale foraging societies have found that survival outside the group was rare enough to be treated, in effect, as a death sentence. So the brain adapted, not to fear teeth and claws above everything else, but to fear the one thing that made teeth and claws so deadly in the first place: being alone when they showed up. Psychologist Naomi Eisenberger ran a study that shows just how deep this goes. She had people play a simple ball-tossing game inside a brain scanner. At some point, the other players quietly stopped throwing the ball to them. Nothing physical happened. No pain, no threat, no danger. And yet the brain activity of the excluded players lit up in the exact same regions that activate during real physical pain. Being left out doesn't just feel bad. Your brain treats it as an injury. Why would evolution do that? Because a brain that treats rejection like pain is a brain that works very hard to avoid rejection. And a person who works hard to avoid rejection stays in the group. And staying in the group for nearly all of human history was the difference between living and dying. This is where things start to feel less like ancient trivia and more like your Tuesday. Think about the last time you sent a message and watched those three dots appear, then disappear, with no reply. Or the moment you noticed you weren't included in a plan your friends made without you. That flicker of dread isn't an overreaction. It's an alarm system built for a world where exclusion actually could kill you, going off in a world where usually it can't. Psychologist Mark Leary has a name for this internal alarm. He calls it the sociometer, a kind of gauge, running quietly in the background of your mind, constantly measuring how much other people value having you around. When the gauge drops, you feel it immediately, often before you can even name why. A cold reply, a shift in tone, being the last one picked. The gauge doesn't wait for a full explanation. It reacts to the smallest signals first, because in a small ancient group, the smallest signals were often the earliest warning. Here's the part that reframes everything though. If exclusion was the real threat, connection wasn't just nice to have, it was survival equipment. Every conversation, every shared meal, every small favor was quietly doing the work of making sure you stayed safe inside the group's protection. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar studied this directly. He proposed that human social groups naturally settled around a certain size, roughly 150 people, the number of relationships a person could realistically track and maintain well enough to trust, not because larger groups weren't possible, but because trust takes constant maintenance. Grooming, gossip, storytelling, laughter, all of it, Dunbar argued, functioned as social glue, holding the group together tightly enough that no one fell through the cracks unnoticed. That's why gossip feels so irresistible even now. Even when you know you shouldn't care, it's not a character flaw. It's an old maintenance behavior for a system built to keep everyone accounted for. So the next time you feel that spike of anxiety over being excluded from something small, a group chat, a lunch invite, a meeting you weren't looped into, you're not being oversensitive. You're running software that once meant the difference between a long life and a short one. Predators killed individuals. Exclusion could end a life just as surely, only slower. And through starvation, exposure, or simply no one there to help when something went wrong. There's a strange comfort in that. The anxious flicker you feel isn't a defect in you. It's a message from thousands of generations of people who survived, specifically by caring what the group thought. You weren't taught to fear being left out. You were built that way by ancestors for whom the fire, and the people sitting around it, mattered more than almost anything else in the world. You've been told your ancestors feared lions. They feared something quieter. And it's still sitting right behind your ribs.